My name is Sarah, and for as long as I can remember, I've known two things. One, that I was loved fiercely by the parents who raised me, and two, that I didn't look like them. Mum and Dad, my real mum and dad, the ones who wiped my tears and cheered at my school plays, were black, with warm brown skin that felt like home. I was pale, with eyes the colour of a summer sky, and hair that lightened to almost white in the sun. They told me the story gently, when I was old enough to ask the questions that burned in my little heart. "You were a gift, sweetheart," Mum would say, her voice soft as a lullaby. "A tiny baby left at the hospital, and when we saw you, we just knew you were meant to be ours. Abandoned. That was the word, though they never used it." My birth parents, who were white, had left me. I didn't know why, and for a long time I tried not to let it bother me. I had a good life. A great life, really. My parents owned a small bakery, and our home always smelled of cinnamon and warm bread. I had friends, I did well in school, and I felt safe. But sometimes, late at night when the house was quiet, the questions would creep in. Why didn't they want me? Was I not good enough? Did I cry too much? The not knowing was like a little stone in my shoe, always there, a dull ache. Grew up, went to nursing school. I wanted to help people, to offer the same kind of care and comfort my parents had always given me. I found a job at a busy city hospital, and I loved it. The chaos, the urgency, the feeling of making a difference. It suited me. Then, one Tuesday, a letter arrived. It wasn't addressed to Sarah Johnson, the name my parents gave me. It was addressed to "The child born to Emily and Thomas Carter, May 12th, St. Mary's Hospital." My hands shook as I opened it. It was from a social worker in a small town I'd never heard of, a few states away. The letter was careful, professional. It said that my biological parents, Emily and Thomas Carter, were very ill. Both of them. It mentioned something about a rare genetic condition affecting their kidneys, and that they were in desperate need of help, potentially even a transplant, and that family members were often the best match. The social worker said she'd found my adoption records through a recent change in state law that allowed access, and she felt compelled to reach out just in case. My first feeling was a rush of cold anger. Abandon me, and now they might need something from me. The irony wasn't lost. I crumpled the letter and threw it in the bin. Good riddance, I thought. They made their choice 30 years ago. But the letter wouldn't stay in the bin, not in my mind anyway. It kept crawling out, nagging at me. Emily and Thomas. Those were their names. My birth mother and father. People I'd never known. Never. Seen, but who were in some undeniable way part of me. I talked to Mum and Dad about it. Dad, ever practical, just held my hand. "It's your decision, Sarah, love. Whatever you choose, we're right here." Mum was quieter. "They must be desperate, baby," she said, her eyes full of a sadness that wasn't just for me, but for them too, for the messiness of it all. People do foolish things when they're young and scared. Doesn't make it right, but it happens. Young and scared. That was a new thought. I'd always imagined them as cruel, heartless, but what if they were just people? Flawed, terrified people who made a terrible mistake. The nurse in me started to take over. 2 people were sick, possibly dying. They needed help. And I, a nurse, someone who had dedicated her life to providing that help, was being asked. The fact that they were them. Well, that was the complicated part. After a week of wrestling with it, of sleepless nights and endless cups of coffee, I made a decision. I wasn't going to offer a kidney, not right away. That was too much, too soon. But I had to go. I had to see them. I needed to look into the faces of the people who had given me life and then walked away. Maybe, just maybe, I could find some answers, or at least some peace. I took some time off work, packed a small bag, and drove to the town of Oakhaven. It was a tiny place, the kind where everyone knew everyone. The hospital was small, old-fashioned, with that distinct smell of antiseptic and old linoleum. I found the social worker, Mrs. Gable. She was kind, with gentle eyes. "I wasn't sure you'd come," she said. "It's a lot to ask." Are they... How bad is it? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. It's serious, Sarah. They both have polycystic kidney disease. It runs in Thomas's family, but it hit them both hard and early. They're on dialysis, but their health is failing fast. They're on the transplant list, but you know how long those can be. She led me to their room. It was a shared room, stark and clinical, 2 beds side by side, and in them 2 figures, pale and frail. They looked old, much older than their 50-something years. Worn down by illness and, I suspected, by a lifetime of carrying whatever weight they carried. The woman, Emily, had wispy, light brown hair, like mine used to be before the sun bleached it. Her eyes were closed. The man, Thomas, had his head, turned away, staring out the window. He had the same sky-blue eyes as me. Seeing that, seeing a piece of myself in this stranger, sent a shiver down my spine. Mrs. Gable stepped forward. Emily, Thomas, there's someone here to see you. Emily's eyes fluttered open. They were hazy, unfocused. Thomas turned slowly. His blue eyes, so like mine, widened slightly when he saw me, then narrowed in confusion. Who is it? Emily rasped, her voice thin as paper. I took a deep breath. My heart was hammering against my ribs so hard I thought it might break free. My name is Sarah, I said. I'm a nurse. Mrs. Gable told me you needed some help. I didn't say anything more. I couldn't. The words wouldn't come. Thomas just stared. Emily frowned. A nurse? From the city? That's kind of you. For the next few days I just helped. I talked to their doctors, reviewed their charts. As a nurse I could understand the medical jargon, ask the right questions. I helped them with small things, adjusting their pillows, getting them water. Just being a presence in the room, they didn't know who I was. To them, I was just a kind nurse who had for some reason taken an interest in their case. It was strange being so close to them, these strangers who were also my blood. I watched them, listened to their tired sighs, the way Thomas would reach for Emily's hand when he thought no one was looking. I saw fear in their eyes, and a deep, bone-weary sadness. One afternoon, Emily was a bit more lucid. I was helping her sip some water. You're very good at this, she said, her voice a little stronger. You have kind hands. Thank you, I said. She looked at me, really looked at me for a long moment. You remind me of someone. A long time ago. My mother, maybe. Her eyes were blue like yours. My heart skipped a beat. Were they? Yes, she said. Then her gaze drifted. We weren't always like this, you know. Sick and old. A tear trickled down her cheek. We made mistakes. One, big one. Thomas, who had been quiet, let out a shaky breath. Emily, don't. Why not, Tom? She whispered. What does it matter now? She looked back at me, her eyes pleading. We had a baby, a little girl. We were so young, just kids ourselves, scared, stupid. His parents. My parents. They wouldn't have it. Said we'd shamed them. My breath caught in my throat. I could feel the blood draining from my face. We thought she'd have a better life with someone else, Thomas said, his voice thick with unshed tears. Someone who could give her what we couldn't. We were poor, no prospects. It was a closed adoption. We never knew what happened to her. Not a day goes by, Emily sobbed. Not one single day that I don't think about her. Wonder where she is, if she's happy, if she hates us. I couldn't speak. My carefully constructed walls, the ones I'd built to protect myself from the pain of their rejection, were crumbling. These weren't monsters. They were broken people, haunted by a decision they'd made out of fear and desperation. What did she look like? I managed to ask, my voice trembling. Emily's face softened, a faint smile touching her lips. Oh, she was beautiful, so tiny. She had the lightest wisps of hair, And these big blue eyes, just like her daddy's. She looked at Thomas and he nodded, tears streaming down his face now. I sank into the visitor's chair, my legs suddenly weak. Mrs. Gable, who had quietly entered the room, put a hand on my shoulder. "Emily. Thomas," Mrs. Gable said gently. "This is Sarah. Sarah Johnson. She was born on May 12th at St. Mary's." The air in the room seemed to freeze. Emily's hand flew to her mouth, her eyes wide with disbelief. Thomas just stared, his jaw slack. The silence stretched, thick and heavy, broken only by Emily's ragged gasps. "No," Emily whispered. It can't be." Thomas pushed himself, up slightly in bed, his gaze fixed on me, searching my face. "Your eyes," he choked out. They're my mother's eyes, our baby's eyes." And then they broke. It wasn't loud or dramatic. It was a quiet, devastating collapse. Emily covered her face with her hands and wept, deep, shuddering sobs that shook her frail body. Thomas just stared at me, tears rolling unchecked down his weathered cheeks, his mouth working but no sounds coming out. The raw, unfiltered agony on their faces was almost unbearable. All my anger, all my resentment, it just dissolved, replaced by a profound, aching sadness. For them. For me. For the years lost, the unspoken pain. I didn't know what to do, what to say. So I did the only thing I could think of. I stood up, went to Emily's bedside and gently took her trembling hand. It was small and bony in mine. "I'm here," I said softly. She looked up at me, her face streaked with tears, her eyes filled with a maelstrom of emotions, shock, guilt, shame, and a tiny flickering spark of something like hope. You came back," she whispered, her voice hoarse. "After what we did, you came." "I'm a nurse," I said, though we all knew it was more than that. "It's what I do." Thomas finally found his voice. "We don't deserve this," he said, his voice cracking. "We don't deserve your kindness." "Maybe not," I said honestly. "But you're sick, and you need help." The next few weeks were a blur. I stayed, in Oakhaven, helping manage their care, talking with doctors. We talked too. Slowly, awkwardly at first. They told me about their lives, about the pressures they'd faced as teenagers in that small conservative town, about the shame and fear that had driven them to make a decision they'd regretted every day since. It wasn't an excuse. It didn't erase the pain of abandonment, but it was an explanation. It made them human. Then came the news we'd all been dreading and expecting. Their kidneys were failing completely. Dialysis wasn't enough anymore. They needed transplants soon, or they wouldn't make it. The doctors ran tests on me. It was a long shot, finding a match for one, let alone trying, to see if I could somehow help both. But hope is a stubborn thing. The results came back. I wasn't a match for Emily. Her sister, long estranged, was contacted and surprisingly agreed to be tested. There was a chance there, but for Thomas, I was a match. A good one. The doctors explained the risks, the recovery time. It was a major surgery. I thought about it long and hard. I talked to my mum and dad on the phone every night. They were worried, of course, but supportive as always. "Honey, you have to do what feels right in your heart," Mum said. "Don't do it out of guilt or because you feel you owe them something. Do it if it's what you need to do." And she was right. This wasn't about them, not entirely. It was about me. It was about staring into the face of my own past, my own hurt, and choosing compassion instead of bitterness. It was about offering a gift, freely given, with no strings attached. Perhaps it was a way to heal a part of myself too. When I told Thomas I was a match and I wanted to donate, he just broke down again. "No," he cried. "I can't let you. After everything, I can't take anything more from you." Emily, weaker but still fighting, held his hand. "Tom," she said softly, "it's a gift, a miracle. Don't you see? She's giving us a second chance. Not just to live, but to try and make things right, even a little. I looked at this man, my biological father, so broken and ashamed. You didn't give me a choice when I was born, I said, my voice gentle but firm. But I'm making this choice now. I want to do this. The surgeries were scheduled. Emily's sister was a match, and their operations would happen a week before mine and Thomas's. The relief in the room when that news came was palpable. Emily's surgery went well. Her sister, a quiet woman I met briefly, seemed to find some healing of her own in the act of giving. Then it was our turn. Lying on the gurney, being wheeled into the operating room, I wasn't scared. I felt strangely calm, peaceful, like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. The last thing I saw before the anesthesia took hold was Thomas's face, etched with fear and a profound, heartbreaking gratitude. He reached out, and his fingers brushed mine. "Thank you," he mouthed. "My daughter. Daughter." It was the first time he'd called me that. Recovery was tough, for both of us. Pain, exhaustion. But through it, something new was being built. A fragile, tentative connection. Emily, recovering in her own room, would have the nurses wheel her over to see us. We'd sit in silence sometimes, or talk about small things. The weather, the hospital food, anything but the enormous, unspoken thing that lay between us. My mum and dad drove down as soon as I was able to have visitors. Seeing them, feeling their familiar, unconditional love, was like an anchor in a stormy. So they met Emily and Thomas. It was awkward, a little strained but respectful. My mum, with her huge heart, even hugged Emily. "She's a good girl, your Sarah," Emily whispered, tears in her eyes. "You raised her right." "She was always good," Mum said, stroking my hair. "We were just lucky enough to be the ones to love her. It's been 6 months since the surgeries. Thomas is doing well. His new kidney, my new kidney, is working perfectly. He has more colour in his cheeks, more energy. Emily, too, is slowly regaining her strength. They moved into a small, accessible apartment near the hospital for follow-up care. I went back to my life, my job, my parents. But things are different now. That little stone in my shoe is gone. The questions aren't screaming anymore. They're just quiet echoes. I visit Oakhaven sometimes. We're not a perfect, happy family. There are still scars, still raw places. There's a lifetime of lost moments that can never be reclaimed, but there's also forgiveness, understanding, and a strange, unexpected kind of love. They don't ask for anything. They just seem grateful for every phone call, every visit. Emily likes to cook for me when I come, simple meals that she makes with painstaking care. Thomas likes to show me old photographs of his parents, my grandparents, telling me stories about them, trying to fill in some of the gaps in my history. They still cry sometimes when they look at me. Tears of guilt, I know, but also tears of a gratitude so profound it humbles me. They know they were given a gift they didn't deserve, a second chance delivered by the daughter they abandoned. And me. I saved their lives, yes. But in a way, they saved mine too. They gave me back a piece of myself I didn't even know was missing. The anger is gone, replaced by a quiet peace. I understand now that life is messy, and people make mistakes, sometimes terrible ones. But sometimes, if you're very, very lucky, you get a chance to choose compassion, and that, I've learned, can heal almost anything.